Hello everyone. This demo is about OpenShift virtualization. In the demo, we'll go over the virtualization operator, we'll create some virtual machines, customize those machines a bit, move the VMs from one node to another, and also try logging in to the VMs. Most of the demo is via OpenShift console, but at the end, we'll also try some of it through the OpenShift CLI. This is OpenShift console and we have a fresh install with no apps running on it. This is what the cluster is made of. We have 3 worker nodes and 3 master nodes. For the demo, we'll start with the fresh installation of OpenShift virtualization operator from the operator hub. So we'll keep everything as default. As part of the operator installation, we'll create hyperconverged as well. Again, everything is kept default. It takes a few minutes to complete the installation. Okay, the operator is ready and available now. Let's quickly scroll through the details. This is the operator version. In details, you can see the namespaces. If you have developers who are restricted to their own namespaces, you can add them here so the operator becomes available to the developers as well.
Next, let's look at the storage. These are the persistent volume claims or PVCs that are created as part of the operator installation. You can see PVCs for Fedora, for RHEL, CentOS, etc. Let's start using the operator now. Let's start creating our first VM. We're currently in the default project, and as always, it is a good idea to isolate the resources using namespaces. So we'll start by creating a new project. As you can see, there are several types of templates available. Templates with already configured PVC are marked with the green check. For the demo, we'll be using Fedora. We are naming the VM as Fedora 1 and the flavor is small. You can customize network, storage, OS configs, etc., but we are not doing any customizations for now. It takes about a minute to start the VM. Now let's see some of the details. All the events that were generated during the VM creation are listed here. You can see new pod was created to host the VM, volume and network got attached, and the VM instance got started. The details tab gives you more detail, more info about the VM, like host name, IP address, OS, and flavor. Like all resources in OpenShift, the VM is created using YAML, and you can have a look at the associated YAML code in the console. Just like traditional virtualization environments, there are several options that you have on the VMs. We'll go through several of these during the demo. You can also connect to your VM from within the console. At the top, it shows you the login info of the VM. And you can verify your network interface, attached disks, CPU, the memory of the VM, etc. So when a VM is created, an interface in the pod networking of type masquerade is created by default. This provides access from the VM to outside the OpenShift cluster and allows the other VMs and pods from the same namespace to access the VM. In our environment, this is the default storage class, which you'll see for all the disks. Currently, the VM only has the root disk. Currently, we don't have any snapshots. You can take a snapshot of running VM, but the recommended way is to stop it first, which is what we are doing now. Now that the VM is stopped, we can see what are the customizations we can do. Node selector tolerations and affinity rules can be used to ensure your VM is run on a particular node or a group of nodes. This can be based on node choice or other workloads currently running on the node, etc. With dedicated resources, you can guarantee resource availability of your critical VMs. Eviction strategy dictates what you want to happen to your VM if the node goes down. For the demo, we'll just modify the flavor. You can also update the flavor of the running VM, but it will only become effective after the restart. One thing more we'll do it is to add another disk to the VM. Let's use the same name and let's add 5 gig of storage. You can add different types of disk, but for the demo, we'll just use the type disk. If you choose a CD-ROM, you can point it to an OS ISO source URL. The disk is now attached, so let's start the VM. The VM is running now. We'll go into the VM console one more time and verify the changes. The CPU is updated to 2 and the memory is 4 gig. And you can also see the new disk is attached as VDC. Let's go back to the VM details, and I wanted to show you one more thing here. You can edit the boot order. If we had added a CD-ROM and pointed it to an ISO image, we could select the CD-ROM as primary and use it to boot the VM. Let's have a look at what happens to OpenShift storage when we created the VMs. For the VMs, each disk will have its own PVC. And you can view the YAML like all other resources in OpenShift. The PVCs in OpenShift are connected to a persistent volume, which you can see here too. And when you take a snapshot of the VM, a snapshot of all of its volume is also created. Next, we'll see how we can clone a VM. It's pretty simple. Let's go back to virtualization and into the VM details. From the actions, we'll now choose clone and just give the name of the new VM. It will stop the running VM and then make a copy. If we go back to PVC, we can see all the disks attached to the first VM have been cloned as well for the second VM. Now we have seen the VMs, but in OpenShift, these VMs are running within pods. Let's have a look at what those pods look like. Each VM has its own pod, and the IP here is the same as the VM IP. We can see which containers are running in the pod. The container running the VM is called compute. And you can see the metrics associated with the pod as well. Again, you can see the YAML for the pod resource type, and here all the events for the from the pod's perspective. We can actually connect to the pod's CLI and inspect the VMs running in this pod. So this pod has only one VM running, which is usually the case, and you can also see the disks associated with that VM. Last thing that we want to do through the UI is live VM migration from one node to another. Let's choose one of the VMs, and right now it is running on worker 2 node. All we have to do is go to the action and choose migrate node to node. It took less than a minute to migrate, and now the VM is moved to worker node 0. Okay, let's move to OpenShift CLI. Let's go into the project and see the VMs. Let's delete the existing VMs and we'll create a new one here. I'm using the resource kind as virtual machine, and we specify other resources for the VM. Let's have a look at the VM. It's created but stopped at the moment. We'll use the Virt CTL, the virtualization controller utility, to interact with the VM. This is the pod the VM is running on, which OpenShift creates automatically when you create the VM. As from the console, we can connect to the VM from CLI as well. For now, I'll just exit. We can do all other VM operations like stop, start, pause, and unpause as well. And again, the last thing for the CLI demo is to do a live migration from CLI. It's currently on worker node 0. Let's migrate. And now it's on worker node 2. Thank you so much for going through the demo with us. I hope this was informative for you.